1, 2, 3, kick. Come on, everybody, clap your hands. Ooh, you're looking good. Are you having a good time? I sure am. Do you like soul music?
Rockinitis.
Oh, baby, baby, when I heard that beat, the Rockinitis just moved my feet. Yeah. To see what's wrong. He said, son, you've been rocking much too long. Oh, doctor, doctor, tell me what to do. He said, don't stop rocking, son, till you are through. He said, doctor, doctor, what's the matter with me?
Well, Scott, one of the neat things about having special props on the set is that you can put them on and activate them. And so I have this special pair of sunglasses here, and when we listen to music, you can see a special vision.
Really?
Only through these glasses when
that sounds
they're
good.
activated.
And I've got one down here.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Well, you put yours on, I'll put mine on.
All right.
And we'll see a special vision which will go with the music
If
that
you
we're
say
listening,
so.
that we're listening to.
What's going to happen?
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Bill Napier Hemi, the lead guitarist with the Pointed Sticks, gave me a copy of the Real Thing single and asked if I'd play it on my radio show. After I heard it, I couldn't wait to play it. So I asked Bill at the time if the Pointed Sticks were getting any commercial radio airplay, and he said, well, we took the single to the two biggest rock radio stations in Vancouver. One station said, we can't play it unless you change the name of your group. We've decided the group's name is just too violent to say on the air. And the other station said, that's not a real record, so we won't be playing it. Any lame excuse to get out of having to deviate from their commercial radio superstar playlist. I think that it's a tragedy and a scandal that most local groups cannot get their records played on local commercial radio.
Truth, the better fiction tales.
Hi, cats and kittens. Welcome to Rockinitis. My name is Michael Willmore. And this time we're going to be doing kind of a local focus, look at what was happening in Vancouver basically in the 1980s, in the Vancouver New Wave era. And my special guest this time out is Scott Beadle. Now, we have a mutual friend going way back, a guy called Rob Whittam. So I talked to Rob Whittam a few years ago, and I said, I'd like to do a show on New Wave, and who would I use as a co-host? He said, quote, Scott Beadle is the go-to guy for New Wave in Vancouver.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if you meant it in a good way.
No, I think he did.
Oh, okay, good.
Anyway, we got this friend, you know, he's a mutual friend. He lives actually over in Duncan now, and he's a lawyer, and lives and works over there. But he's still kind of in touch with the Vancouver scene, comes over here now and then. And he was here in the 80s and stuff, and I went to several concerts and things with him, and he kind of introduced me to a lot of things that were happening back then. And he's your friend as well.
Well, and you guys both had a radio show on Co-op Radio, and the shows would follow each other.
That's right.
One of your shows, maybe your tape show. And me living at my parents' house in Richmond a number of years ago would listen and tape both your shows. Rob Whittam's Catch the New Wave, which is the name of his show. Yeah. And I believe Rock Talk came on just before that.
Yeah, that's right. That's actually how I met him. I met him because he phoned up my radio show once, and I thought, just from the things he was saying, I thought, this guy should be doing a show. You know, so, I mean, I like the idea of a guy doing what was then current stuff, which is what he was interested in. Yeah. So anyway, I kind of facilitated his entrance into Co-op Radio. Oh, wow. Next thing you know, he was doing a show. And we actually came up with the name, Catch the New Wave. Yeah, yeah. And you know, he was thinking of all these different titles for it. Right. And then he says, I've got it. I remember he phones me up. I said, what is it? He goes, the name of the show from this point on shall be, and then he pauses, Catch the New Wave. It worked. Anyway, and it worked, and it was great. Now, didn't you operate at some point at Co-op Radio?
Yeah, I decided to become a volunteer, and so I got the job of running your reel-to-reel tapes. Whenever the repeats were.
Oh, back in the reel-to-reel days.
Yeah, wow. I had to do the reel, yeah.
Okay.
Pull the reel.
Wow.
I only fell asleep a couple times, so it was not so bad.
Anyway, when I first contacted you, when he told me that you were the go-to guy, and I found out your name was Scott Beadle, I immediately thought of this record that I have in my collection by the Canadian Beatles.
Canadian Beatles, yeah.
And here's the record here. And this is I'm Coming Home and Love Walk Away by the Canadian Beatles. Vic, Paul, and Bruce. So I emailed you. Yeah. Because you were a Facebook friend of mine, I believe, by that time. And I said, did you have something to do with the Canadian Beatles? Because your last name being Beadle.
Yeah, and spelled the same, too.
And spelled the same. I thought, I bet you he was in the Canadian Beatles. So is there anything to that?
No, I wish there was. I wish I could say, yeah, we go back every family reunion and have a picnic and we all get together, but no relations whatsoever.
Anyway, this group actually later had an LP called Three Faces North. Now, if anybody out there has this album, Three Faces North, I want it, okay? Get in touch. Get in touch. I want Three Faces North by the Canadian Beatles. So if you have it, get in touch with me and tell me all about it. Anyway, the other thing was, I've got to dig around here. Now I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, yes. You have another single here that I see your name on the back of. So you were actually in a New Wave group.
I was in a band, and we made a single, and you know, at the time it seemed like a minor deal. It was one step up from doing a cassette demo tape was to make a 7-inch single. But this was right around the death of vinyl, and now vinyl's coming back, but now having done that single, I'm quite proud of it now because
well, that's pretty cool being in a group and having your actual name on the record and everything.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, you're actually listed there. But it says drums, and then it just says Beadle.
Well, it's a repeating line, so it's new wave typesetting. So, I think it says Scott on the top line.
Okay.
On the other side.
Anyway, that's quite good as well. You know, so it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live with the singer still. As a
Oh, is that right?
The singer's my
that's your. Oh, okay, that's your partner.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So anyway, we're going to do the show on Vancouver New Wave, which is what Vancouver was doing in the 80s. Can you tell me? Can you define New Wave and also say what years it happened?
Well, there's been a lot written and spoken on the topic of, you know, why do we call some stuff new wave and other stuff punk rock? And I think that the whole movement started, everything was called punk rock, and the major bands that came out were the Sex Pistols and Clash and Damned in England, and in New York you had the Ramones and Blondie, and they kind of made the first impact into popular culture and kind of created a space through which a lot of other different musical formats came through. And the bands and musicians that came through that didn't fit that kind of harder punk sound, like of the Sex Pistols and the Ramones, the word punk didn't really fit for them, or their managers or their record labels didn't want to use the word punk for them, so they started to be called new wave. And in the punk scene, sometimes new wave had a bad connotation, because what would happen is there would be some musicians who would kind of hop on the bandwagon of the new thing. And so you had old industry hacks kind of coming up with a new wave act, or you know, a label manufacturing a band and like, we'll call it new wave and we'll like hop on this bandwagon. Whereas all of the bands we're going to be talking about were musicians who were kind of around at the same time and were kind of fellow travelers of some of the punk musicians, but they were usually already musicians and were more genuine in their musical pursuits. Mm-hmm. And so there tends to be good and bad aspects to new wave as a label, as a tag.
Well, I see new wave as something that grew out of punk rock. So punk rock came out, you know, started in England with the Sex Pistols, and it basically was an explosion, mm-hmm. Like rockabilly or something like that, or some other former movement from bygone eras. Yeah, whatever. So there's been several explosions in the course of the history of rock. Anyway, it was an explosion, and it got everybody's attention and woke everybody up. And then bands started growing out of the punk explosion and making a more melodic approach. Mm-hmm. So I see new wave as kind of a combination of art rock and punk rock. Is mm-hmm. that fair?
That would be fair in some cases. In other cases, it would be bands and musicians who are looking back into rock's past for mm-hmm. inspiration, like the garage rock revival, mm-hmm. and musicians like that. A lot of...
Okay, the first group in Vancouver to basically play gigs and be known was the Furies, which I've got a little picture of there. And they were followed in short order by DOA. And, oh, gotta hold it down because it curls. Anyway, the Furies actually played the very first gig, punk rock gig, at the Japanese Hall in '77.
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
And then they were followed in short order by DOA.
DOA and the Dish Rags and the Subhumans.
I think they were actually on the same bill. You know.
Yes, the Dish Rags were on that bill too.
Yeah,
that's right.
I actually saw the Dish Rags at that relatively recent, like a year ago or 2 years ago or something, show, which featured the Pointed Sticks and various groups from the era. Mm-hmm. Anyway, DOA, this is Vancouver's punk explosion, and the first new wave guy was Tim Ray. And Tim Ray, oh, I dropped my little clip.
I've got my backup.
Okay. Anyway, Tim Ray had the first actual release, which was called the AVEP.
Well, they had another single before this.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Just as Tim Ray.
Okay.
So the Furies never made a record.
Yeah. Anyway, this was the very first Vancouver New Wave record, the AVEP.
And the first one on Quintessence record label, which
Okay.
was a major player in that.
Now, remember when we were getting this show together?
Yeah.
We were at the
Kinko's
Kinko's
or FedEx
Copies,
or whatever, yeah.
and we were making copies of things, and then all of a sudden, on the floor or on a desk off
Yeah.
to the side, we see this sitting there. So you go, "Did you bring that with you?" I go, "No."
Because we were just talking about it.
Yeah,
and it
we were
was in
just
the
talking
recycle
about
bin.
it.
Yeah.
And so this was just sitting there. So anyway, you pick it up. That means that Tim Ray had obviously just been in Kinko's
He'd
Copies.
just been in there photocopying some of his old promos for that. That's a promo for the first record I was just mentioning.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so he must have just been in there, and there's some inferior copies, and he threw them in the bin.
Wow.
But a perfect example of an artist who, musically, you can't really call punk rock, although he would have been called punk rock at the time because there was very little else to tell it.
He's
to
really
call
new
it.
wave, though.
Yeah.
He's too
And
musical to be punk.
And that's why the term came around. Like
Yeah.
there had to be something else.
So the record we're going to start off with as an example of new wave in Vancouver is by a group called the Secret V's, and I just love this record. It's really got a great tune, and it's called Modern Boy, and like, you know, once you hear it a couple of times, you go, "I'm just a modern boy." It just keeps going on in your head, eh?
Yeah.
It's just such a great tune. So this is the tune we're going to start off with as an example of Vancouver's answer to the new wave movement. 1980 is when it came out. And
I've been practicing for this.
Oh, yeah?
I've done the exercises you told me.
Okay. Anyway, this is Modern Boy by the Secret V's. The bass and guitar dance around the lead vocal, and it's very effective.
I'm a modern boy. Yeah, I'm a modern boy. I'm a modern boy. Yeah, I'm a modern boy. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know, but I've been told they say the streets up in heaven are lined with gold. I feel those streets, they are coming off a post, you know. I went and exceeded the recommended dose. Now I'm just waiting for the drugs to take hold. Now, darling, I'm just waiting for the drugs to take hold. Now, I'm just waiting for the drugs to take. Oh, darling, I'm just waiting to relinquish control. Well, I saw you through a window, painted black, you know.
That tune has a very evocative title. It's called Waiting for the Drugs to Take Hold. And we won't say
romantic.
whether we know or don't know what that means.
I've read some books.
I've read some books. I can relate. Anyway, the Secret V's, one of the great Vancouver forgotten groups, and that was actually from the second EP, which was on Useful Records in 1980, and it's also included on the Last Call CD. Mm-hmm. Now, the Last Call CD, I mean, if you wanted to find out about local music in the punk or in the new wave era, you could not do better than this compilation.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. Covers the whole
It's
spectrum
fabulous.
of
And
independent music in Vancouver at the time.
Right, and it was put together by Grant McDonough at Zulu Records. And this guy, I mean, he really should be given more credit for what he does in life and in Vancouver and for the culture of Vancouver and for music in Vancouver.
Absolutely.
Grant McDonough does a lot of stuff, behind the scenes kind of guy.
Credit shy guy.
Yeah, credit shy guy.
know.
I've asked him to be on the show, but he's too nervous. He doesn't want to do it. But anyway, he's done a lot for Vancouver music. Mm-hmm. And he puts on that great event that takes over the entire 4th Avenue and has like dozens of bands playing at multiple stages and all sorts of things. And he has in-store stuff in his store.
Yeah, a lot of bands playing in there,
Zulu Records. And he's just a great guy for promoting Vancouver music. And, you know, I think he needs more credit than he ever gets. Anyway, he put out this Last Call CD, which has like tons of bands from that era, and it's just a fabulous collection. Now, I was mentioning to you before about most of the groups back in those days, like the Secret V's EP. Most of the groups out in those days had covers, which are quite kind of unique. Now, the interior of the cover is black inside. Mm-hmm. Okay, that one too, the Modernettes.
Yeah.
Now, why you had some explanation you gave me about that? What is that?
Someone explained to me that at the local pressing plant in Vancouver, you could get a deal on your record jacket sleeve costs, is that they would have overs from another press run, like they had too many covers for however many vinyls that were made from the previous run, like a Loverboy album or a Chilliwack album or something.
Okay.
And so they would paint them, the covers black and turn them inside out.
Okay,
so they know they were overs before they got folded.
So it's like a rejuvenated or a recycled album.
It's recycled.
Okay.
So if you're able to scratch away the black, which I don't think you can on cardboard,
so like the
apparently
Butcher
there'd
cover.
be another album under there.
Wow. So you could see that it was actually like a, I don't know, a Valdi album or something underneath.
That's right. That's right.
Cool.
Sherry Ulrich.
Anyway, now we're going to move to the bonus boys. Like for every disc we're playing here, I mean, you could find 5 other discs out at the same era that you could play as an example, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there was so much stuff.
Yeah.
So you just got to whittle it down to your absolutely favorite stuff. And this one is called Every Time I See a Car Like Yours Go By the Bonus Boys. And have you got it there? Or?
I didn't. I put it away.
Okay, well, I'll dig mine
Oh,
out.
I got it first.
Okay, you got
I
it
win.
first. Okay. Anyway, the Bonus Boys. This is on the Tsunami record label. And a lot of the local labels are great names, eh?
Yeah, and obviously outside of the record store run labels like Quintessence and Friends Records, these are just labels made up by the band and just named something, and usually they only have one or two.
Well, they're great
releases.
names. I mean, they're cool. Now, the new wave era, what would be the years, the defining years for it? What would
the time we're talking about
parameters.
is about 78 to the early 80s. I mean,
so like 83, 86 or something like that?
I think 86 is a good cutoff point, because by then things have kind of moved on to different, all the subgenres have quite solidified into very specific things.
Anyway, this group is Kim Clark on lead vocals and rhythm guitar, Jack Matthews lead guitar, Elmer Spanier on bass, and Jay Johnson on the drums. 1979, the Bonus Boys, they did 3 45s. Some of their stuff actually came out in compilations that actually was never released at the time. This is my all-time favorite thing by them. Can you hand me the actual album? Or single. It's got a great pick sleeve, and it's got a neat tune that sticks in your mind. And it has a filled-in center, so I don't have to raise the 45
Oh, even better.
thing. Anyway, this is a tune that'll definitely stick in your mind by the Bonus Boys. It's called Every Time I See a Car Like Yours Go By. Give me the vibes.
Oh, here we go.
Every time I see a car like yours go by, my heart skips a beat. Every time I see a car like yours go by, it stops me on my feet. Cutest set of wheels around. I wish you'd take me for a spin. I sometimes wonder if you ever wonder what it's like to drive this crate I'm in. Every time I see a car like yours go by.
Anyway, my name is Michael Willmore. My special co-host here has been Scott Beadle, and we did a show just now on Vancouver New Wave, and this will be part 1. I guess, and there's more to come.
So, yeah.
There's more to come.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Rockinitis.
I went to the doctor to see what was wrong. He said, son, you've been a-rockin' much too long. Oh, doctor, doctor, tell me what to do. If you don't start rocking, then you are through. Oh, doctor, doctor, what's the matter with me? Oh, this rockin' out, this won't let me be. Well, I tried to start a rockin', but I've been told. There's a rockin' out that says it got my soul. Oh, hey, 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 hey.